Welcome to Montana in the fall. My wife and I recently celebrated our 5-year anniversary with a much needed and much appreciated vacation to see a state we had always wanted to see, and what it turned out to be was quite frankly one of the most beautiful landscapes in the country that I have ever laid my eyes on, and the company to appreciate it was very good as well. I made sure to bring my tripod with me so that I could film and appreciate the beauty along BNSF's MRL 4th Subdivision, as we've seen primarily high priority grain traffic during our time in Montana, with the exception of a few different trains in Spokane, Washington going into the northern Idaho panhandle. While we didn't capture a train in every scenic spot we stopped at on our trip, we found so many beautiful locations along the way that one day I hope to return in order to obtain some more photos and videos. So with that said, sit back and relax and enjoy the mighty grain trains of Montana on DannyBTrainz. Thanks for joining us. Our trip began early morning on Friday, October 25th, with a red-eye flight from Nashville to Denver with an hour-and-a-half layover there before we'd take off flying to Spokane, Washington. The second flight was certainly very scenic, seeing mighty windmills down in the desert, snowy mountaintops of the Rocky Mountains, and far off in the distance, we could see geysers erupting at Yellowstone. But as our southwest flight began to get closer and closer to Spokane, the terrain down below began to change to more like what I had envisioned when I wanted to see Montana and that general area. Large trees and many more elements to suggest that I was in elk country. I'd never seen an elk before this trip, and while I have no pictures or video to show off, I did see a total of 4 elk on this trip at nighttime. Our rental for this trip is a 2023 Ford F-150 XLT, and man was this a nice truck to have for this trip. Our first stop after the flight was Spokane, Washington, where we enjoyed a nice lunch at the Chowderhead restaurant in downtown Spokane, which was an enjoyable meal for us. I got the chicken Caesar salad sandwich, and my wife enjoyed the smoked steelhead chowder in a bread bowl. Now, if you're ever in Spokane, I recommend you take a quick walk and enjoy the views of the Spokane River and its waterfalls. Very beautiful, very peaceful. It was much appreciated. After enjoying the tranquility of the falls, we continued north towards our next stop in Sandpoint, Idaho, and we passed along BNSF's Hauser Yard, seeing quite the collection of great trains in the area, seeing even more along the double main line as we continued on. Eventually, I stopped at the crossing in a small area known as North Pole, just on the outside of Athol, Idaho, just down the street from the Silverwood Theme Park. We see a westbound grain train parked in front of us with no signs of moving for now, and to our west we knew there was an eastbound grain train with 2 SD70 Aces waiting for the green signal to make their way east. But after waiting about 20 to 30 minutes and only seeing a distant light that showed no signs of getting closer, we packed up and drove into the town of Sandpoint, Idaho. Sandpoint is a very nice town with beautiful lake views along the shoreline of Lake Oreille, with mountains and fall colors surrounding it. Shopping and dining can be appreciated in the downtown district and in the Cedar Street Bridge building that connects over to the Amtrak station. This is an unmanned station on an old depot that they have done a great job keeping up its look as an old school station. Not many Amtrak trains make a stop here during the day, but it is certainly possible to see them here. Sandpoint is a very busy area for train traffic as 2 main lines come together here, splitting off different directions, and there's even a diamond where the Union Pacific runs as well. But off in the distance, we see our first train coming, and it is in fact that eastbound grain train of the 2 SD70 Aces at the front that we were hoping to see earlier. Attached to the rear for support is BNSF 3250, an ES44C4 built in January of 2020, working together to move this train to its final destination. As the sun sets on us on day number 1, this trip is already off to a great start, and while I really wish we could have seen a train make their way through at sunset here, we weren't fortunate enough to get one here in golden hour along the shoreline of the Pendo Rail Wildlife Management Area, but the views were definitely worth a stop before we went to stay at the lodge at Trout Creek. Sunrise commences much later in Montana. By 9 a.m., the mountains are still barely out of the darkness, with an 8:30 a.m. sunrise due to the area's proximity to the North Pole, as compared to Tennessee where I am from. Plus, the size of the mountains the sun's light must pass over as well makes it very difficult for it to get bright very early here. We then made our way out to explore more of Montana, where an eastbound grain train was already passing through the neighboring crossing to where we were staying. Soon after, we made our way to Martin Creek Road and Trout Creek, set up at the crossing with an open view to the bridge going over Martin Creek on the Noxon Reservoir. While my wife doesn't always go railfanning with me, she did enjoy using her own camera to showcase some parts of Montana. And I must say, she's not too bad at railroad photography. Check out this awesome shot that she got of this approaching grain train. After a little tuning up from me on Photoshop, this turned out to be my favorite photo. So much so that I decided to make it the thumbnail of this video, and I also decided to get it printed out to hang up. So with that said, enjoy the video footage of this grain train as it passes over the Noxon Reservoir. Afterwards, we made our way down a little further past the Noxon Reservoir along the Cabinet Gorge Reservoir to the bridge at Triangle Pond just outside of the small town of Noxon. While no trains were present, the views were certainly very good, and I so wish we could have seen a train here. You're going to notice a trend from this trip. Me and bridge shots don't go well. In all, we went 1 for 4 on bridge shots from this trip. Real shame to be honest, but it just fuels the desire to come back here once again even more. Later in the day, we were going to have some photos taken in Missoula, Montana, followed by a late dinner on the way back at the ever-popular Quinn's Hot Springs Resort Restaurant, Harwood House, for a delicious anniversary dinner. And along the way, we'd pass yet another grain train, this time running westbound through the small community of Plains, Montana. While we only got a quick look at this one traveling down the road, we would still find time to capture another train in this area at a better time the next day. But we had to make it in time for our time slot for photos, so no time to stop. But do notice the Ferromex visitor on at the end. Dinner was good that night, and the night after at Quinn's Tavern as well. And the Quinn's Hot Spring itself was also very nice as well, as we found time to go take a soak in their warm pools on Sunday, October 27th. On the morning of the 27th, however, we found ourselves driving to see if we could find some wildlife other than deer and turkey, to which, no, we couldn't. But regardless, we found ourselves later on overlooking Martin's Creek along the Noxon Reservoir. Once again, man, do I know how to find some beautiful spots to catch a train. But despite staying there for well over half an hour, nothing produced for us, so it was time to move on. We didn't have all day to stay here, as our time to soak at the hot springs was coming up soon, but along the way, we would play catch up on an eastbound grain train. So when we had passed it just before the community of Plains, I was set up, ready to capture one final grain train in Montana, this time featuring 2 of those classic old school H2 scheme -9s, leading the way with a newer ES44C4 number 7172 sandwiched in between them, all running elephant style down the valley area of Plains. That'll do it for this Railfanning adventure to remember from the BNSF MRL 4th Subdivision. This is by far the prettiest area that I have ever filmed trains in, and I so much want to go back again in the coming years and explore more locations and see those beautiful orange trains once again. I have to say thanks for my wife for going with me on this adventure, and thanks to Mrs. Julie and Mr. Randy for running the lodge at Trout Creek and being great hosts at this beautiful $5 million luxury cabin bed and breakfast. It was certainly worth every penny to stay there, and they do a great job to make you feel like family when you stay there. If you're looking for a relaxing getaway soon or want to come railfan here as well, set aside some extra money just for that experience alone. Check them out online at thelodge@troutcreek.com for more information. Be sure to subscribe here if you are new, and stay tuned for more videos. While this may be my one and only time in Montana for now, you had better believe that I won't stop thinking about Montana in the fall. And through the power of Trainz 22 and model trains, I can definitely see myself replicating this beautiful area in the future. until the next railfanning adventure, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Bye guys.